I'm going to continue in the same vein of looking over the successful history of the past 30 years as instructed by Randy. Now, for the hearing in January to confirm her as Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton did respond to the Senate Foreign Relations Committee by noting that the Obama administration will continue to abide by the TRA as the legal basis of our relationship with Taiwan. And that was something Peter was alluding to. While that is true, the TRA has actually remained the bipartisan backbone of our bilateral relationship, not only because it is the law that governs our policy towards Taiwan, but also because Congress was brilliant in crafting the TRA. This success has been evident for the last 30 years. The TRA embodies careful balance and thought without misleading claims. The law guards against persistent historical revisionism attempted by Beijing or the White House. It is the U.S. domestic law meant only for U.S. policies. First, Congress recognized that the United States is capable of doing more than one thing at a time, and we are able to have a balance in pursuing relationships with both Beijing and Taipei to advance broad U.S. interests. Second, Congress asserted its constitutional co-equal status to the executive branch and its rightful role in policymaking, particularly in vital national interests. On December 16, 1978, President Carter's announcement of the derecognition of the ROC government in Taipei came in the dead of night with no sincere notice to Congress, indeed done during the Christmas recess and in direct contradiction to a law that Congress had just passed as a warning. President Carter announced a policy change despite a law that was passed by Congress with Senator Robert Dole's amendment, warning the president that he needs to consult with Congress on any proposed changes to the U.S. ROC Mutual Defense Treaty. Senator Jacob Javits later wrote that the president made his announcement with only the briefest notice to congressional leaders, and regarding the abrogation of the defense treaty, the president's action ignored a specific amendment adopted by the Congress only 2 months before. Third, the TRA made clear that the U.S. decision to establish diplomatic relations with the PRC rests upon the expectation that the future of Taiwan will be determined peacefully. In other words, Congress recognized that the United States has considered Taiwan's status as unsettled since June 1950. Moreover, the TRA did not address or discuss the so-called One China concept. Fourth, while the administration has called for so-called unofficial relations with Taiwan, members recognize the use of the word unofficial as meaningless. Congress omitted any adjective for the relationship and for AIT. The TRA does not specify the relationship as official or unofficial. Indeed, it is misleading to call the relationship unofficial, as there clearly has been governmental ties, foreign military sales, FMS cases, and even visits by cabinet-level secretaries from 1992 to 2000. But having gone without any such senior official visit under the Bush administration for 8 years, some might revise history to say that the U.S. never has had official ties with Taiwan or senior ties with Taiwan under the TRA. Fifth, in crafting the TRA, Congress provided for security assistance, a glaring gap in the Carter and White House's proposed language. Thus, the TRA stipulated that the policy would continue to consider any non-peaceful efforts to determine the future of Taiwan, a threat to the peace and security of the Western Pacific, and of grave concern to the United States. But significantly, at the same time that legislative history embodied the expectation that there would be a prompt response by the United States to a use of force, The TRA did not specify in advance what the situation or the response might be. Also, the TRA required the president to maintain the capacity of the United States to resist any use of force or coercion that would jeopardize the interests of Taiwan. Congress did not seek to reconstruct the defense agreement with Taiwan. Nonetheless, Congress did legislate a broad definition of the threats that Taiwan could face, going beyond the language for armed attacks that is generally put into defense treaties. Moreover, the United States will make available to Taiwan defense articles and services in such quantity that may be necessary to enable Taiwan to maintain a sufficient self-defense capability. Both the President and Congress shall determine the nature and quantity of such defense articles and services, and this is important, based solely upon their judgment of the needs of Taiwan. In other words, without linkages to other U.S. or foreign objections. The geography of Taiwan was carefully considered and defined as the islands of Taiwan and Pescadores. In other words, Congress excluded the offshore islands of Jinmen and Matsu from the definition, as these islands had been deliberately left out of the Mutual Defense Treaty. In spite of the careful crafting of the TRA as the legal basis that governs policy, successive presidents have implemented the TRA to varying extents, raising congressional concerns. At various times, Congress has had to assert its role and ensure the faithful implementation of the TRA. In 1981, Ronald Reagan considered a sale of F-X fighters to Taiwan. He was fully involved in the careful decision-making of whether to extend a more advanced model or not to Taiwan. However, Reagan also signed the August 17, 1982 communique promising to limit not only the quality but also quantity of arms sales to Taiwan affecting Taiwan's defense capabilities. In response to mere statements of peaceful intent made in Beijing in 1979 and 1981. Thus, while it should be obvious, Congress had to pass legislation in 1994 to affirm that the TRA, U.S. law, takes primacy over policy statements such as the 82 communique. In September 92, the first President Bush, Bush 41, notified Congress of a sale of 150 F-16AB fighters to Taiwan. President Bush also sold Taiwan Patriot missile defense systems. Now, today, although we have a history where successive U.S. presidents have carefully considered sale of fighters to Taiwan to help maintain its fighter force, we now have a revised view that somehow selling new F-16 CD models of fighters to Taiwan might be too sensitive a breakthrough. In April 1999, Ben Gilman, chairman of the International Relations Committee, as Peter mentioned, he had to write to President Clinton to urge approval for sale of long-range early warning radars. But 3 months later, he also had to threaten again to cut off all U.S. arms sales around the world after Clinton tried to cut off arms sales and delay a visit of Pentagon officials to Taiwan. Now, some question whether Congress should have any say before the legally required congressional review period, when actually, by then, the President of the White House has already made decisions regarding Taiwan's requests for arms sales. Actually, Congress has already asserted a role before such arms sales talks or White House decisions. Indeed, in the 106th Congress, Congress passed what was called the Taiwan Reporting Requirement. Now, in 2008, more recently, congressional frustrations and concerns mounted as months went on with the delay, if not a freeze, in arms sales notifications by President Bush to Congress in the 110th. There were 8 pending arms sales programs, as well as Bush's refusal to even accept a request to entertain consideration of whether to sell F-16 fighters to Taiwan since 2006. Members wrote letters to senior administration officials who failed even to extend the common courtesy of a reply. In any case, President Bush delayed sending any notifications to Congress on 8 approved pending arms sales programs with a total value of around $12 to $13 billion.